Well, welcome back everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. So it has literally been storming and raining for the last 12 hours and it just passed. It's middle of the day. I finally felt comfortable to start lugging all my tools and everything out here as soon as that passed. Now we have some cool weather on the way and I'm looking forward to it. So today's episode, since we only have a few hours left in the day, but it's something critical that we need to get done, we're going to start prepping all of our window openings with the exception of that one way in the back because we're going to leave it covered in case we get any more rain. But all these are protected under the porch, including one that y'all haven't seen in a long time that you probably completely forgot about. We got to cut it out. So doors and windows, we're going to go ahead, cut the house right back, get everything prepped and ready because the window company just came out this morning for these big custom trapezoid windows up top. They are building my frames today. They want to come out and get some more exact measurements, and they said the glass should be in next week. So that means I better be prepped, ready, and sealed for them to install those windows. Also, next week, I'm going to go ahead and start putting all of our windows in. Doors are set to arrive potentially next week, so we got a lot going on. Now, the reason today's video is going to be window prep and not installing windows is because in a couple of days, heck, maybe by the time you're watching this, spray foam insulators are here. They're gonna be blowing spray foam all on the walls. So I figured there's no point in having the windows up. That's more they have to tape up seal. That's more potential for them to bust a window, to accidentally get spray on a window. I just don't know. Today would be a better day to prep windows. Now the day after they leave, I'll probably go ahead and start plugging all the holes. We're gonna start sealing the house up, and HVAC company's already called as well. As soon as the insulators are out, they want to come start running all the piping, insulation for the piping, all that stuff. So it's about to get really busy, really exciting. So let's get all these window and door openings ready to go for the chaos that's going to ensue come next week. Okay, so I went over this once before on a window install video, but it's worth noting again because I know I'm going to be asked, why am I installing or why am I preparing my windows this way? Because it's not a very traditional way that you see. And if you get to watching a lot of install videos on YouTube, things have kind of morphed and changed over the last few decades and will continue to do that forever as new products and new techniques come out. This is just the way I chose to install my windows because it makes the most sense in my mind for what I'm trying to accomplish. So probably the most common way you see is, imagine if I had a full wall of Tyvek right here. I hadn't cut it, so I just went over this opening and we still got to find the window opening in here. Most people will make diagonal cuts from corner to corner and then one seam down the center and kind of make the flaps that you're seeing now. A lot of people will pull those in and nail them just like you're seeing that I've done. There's one big issue with that though. So when you pull this flap in and nail it just like I've done, you see pockets right here. This is not actually sealed to the house. And what that means is you're gonna have air leakage later on, and I think it's critical to have a well-sealed house. So imagine, if you will, if I left this just like this, did my little window flashing down here in the corner, installed my window, and shot some foam or caulk or something in behind the window itself that's sitting right here. That's the way most people do it. That foam, for example, will expand, and a lot of people have a conception or misconception, I think, that that foam expands enough to push this house wrap against the wood that's behind it and seal out. That's just not the case. Most people put open cell foam in behind windows so it does not expand and harden like closed cell, which can actually push and warp windows, doors, things like that. So since we'll have a springy foam back here that does do a decent job of air sealing, problem is you've just pressed this plastic against the wood, but it's always floppy, always a pocket back there. So your air will actually leak out behind this stuff, go against the wall, and your conditioned air that you've paid for inside on this well-sealed house is slowly making its way around all doors and windows behind the vapor barrier going to the outside world. So you're literally throwing money out the window. So that's why I cut mine open and flush. Now we're gonna flash tape and actually seal the tape to the wood and to this vapor barrier so no air from the inside can make it behind this vapor barrier. Again, a well-sealed house is not only good for energy efficiency, but it's also good for bugs. Now check your local areas, but anytime we install windows around here, I've then verified this, we do not have to put metal Z-flashing above our windows or trim, especially when they're under a 21-foot deep porch. Driving rain hitting this window is going to be almost non-existent. We'd have to literally be in a hurricane or something, and this is also north facing, so the majority of the time we're just not going to get storms. It's going to blow driving rain up here, so we are not required. I think the flashing looks horrible personally. Yes, it serves a good purpose on the outside windows where we're required to do that, and I will, but I'm not going to install Z flashing above my trim or window on these covered porch windows. So what I'll do is I'll actually cut a 45, we'll just say from right here down. So now essentially I'm making a flap right here. So when we go to install our window, which will have a nailing flange on it, it'll sit on the outside and you nail all the way in. But up here, I'll actually roll this flap up out of the way, tape it, nail the window to the wood, and then the flap comes back down over that solid plastic nail flange or vinyl plastic nail flange that I have. Then we'll tape and seal this to the window itself. So if water ever drove and got behind the trim that's going to be right here, for example, it would come down this vapor barrier to the plastic housing that's around the window, which is, you know, impenetrable. It's not going to allow water in. It's solid sealed. Then the water would actually run around. So the window itself almost acts like a flashing. Now, you'll notice if you watched one of my last episodes where I installed an outside window, I forgot to do this flap, but in all reality, you don't do this flap whenever you're going to install a thick trim and then install Z flashing above your trim, which is what James Hardy requires. You need to check with your manufacturer, but the fiber cement trim that we're using, they want anytime lap siding mixed trim, that's where you put your Z flashing. So essentially what that means is if I had my window installed, a trim up here, then my Z flashing, this flap that I cut right here, I would cut above that flashing and the flap would go over it. If whatever got behind it come out on the metal flashing, it would run down the trim, right down the window to the ground where it belongs. So depending on if you use flashing or not determines where you actually put this flap, at least in my mind. That's the way I'm going to do it. So I use this large, it's 3 or 3.5 inch zip tape flashing. Really good stuff. I bought an entire case of it. You can get it so much cheaper buying it by the case. But this is excellent for accomplishing what I'm wanting to do right here. Essentially, I'm wanting to, again, seal this vapor barrier to this wood because once it's sealed, no air is getting by. Now, because I'm going to do this flap over the window, I will not seal the top today because, again, this flap actually gets sealed to the window itself down the road, not to the wood. So what I like to do is start with my tape on the vapor barrier first, not on the wood. So the reason I prefer to tape the vapor barrier first is now I can pull this direction and get the vapor barrier nice and tight and roll this in, then stick it to the wood. If it was stuck to the wood first, you can't pull the wood to the vapor barrier, but you can pull the vapor barrier to the wood to get everything nice, flush, and again, create that seal that I'm trying to make here. So now you can see what we've created. When we put the window in, this is sealed to the wood. No air is getting in behind this. It can get out from the window, but we'll seal the window at a later date. All right, so as I've mentioned in many other videos, zip tape or any rubber butyl tape, flashing tape like this does require friction and some sort of compression. Get yourself a nice rubber roller. These are called J rollers, if I remember correctly. And anytime you install this tape, you want to roll it nice and flat. Now it's stuck really well, both sides. And that's it. All right, so we've got our window nice and sealed for air. Yes, this also helps with moisture, but I could not stop right here. This wouldn't be totally correct for getting moisture out, especially these corners, which I do have taped, But there is a small chance water could work its way back in the corner, and that's typically where a window will rot out. That's where something like this DuPont Flex Wrap really comes in handy. I just started using this stuff for the first time ever. I love it. It's extremely stretchy, rubber butyl, flashing tape, but it's designed to flex and pull into those corners. The other reason I bought 9" is so it'll go over my 2x6 window sills and stretch down to the outside. This is where we are protecting more for moisture than we are for air, but this also helps for air as well. So since I'm covering all the basics again in this video, something else that's worth mentioning. Before you start any of this process, make sure your windows fit. I've measured everything out. And also this window sill right here, where these cripples or studs actually meet the window sill, I knocked it up. You can see I've got these off-colored shims in there, and I've shimmed the window sill 5 degrees to the outside, so water cannot pull up on it, and it will flow out and down the vapor barrier. Now the beautiful thing is a seamless corner. So if water ever gets behind this window, it's running out and down. No open corners, no exposed wood, nothing to puddle up down here and rot out. And because, again, the window sill is tilted that way, there's no reason water should ever run back into the house. It's always going to find its way out and down. All right, so on to a window that I think a lot of y'all forgot about or don't even know about if you're new to the channel, and it's because I've left this one covered up, but it's our bathroom window. So I want to go ahead and get this cut out and sealed up along with all the other windows, because we're going to be installing these in just a few days. Now this is a large bathroom window because we have a large shower, but more importantly, we have a relatively small bathroom. And if there's one thing I learned over the years, a small bathroom feels like a dungeon unless you let a lot of natural light in. So this is also a good time to go ahead and verify my fit. All right, so it looks like it's going to be a little loose, but that's okay. I have verified that the nails will actually catch in the wood. I've dropped a piece, don't know where it is. So let's go get this thing sealed up. Okay, well, it's starting to look like something now. We have all windows prepped and ready, except for that one on the back wall, which we'll catch that the day that we know we're going to install the window. Doorways are, somewhat prepped. I still got to get the door in and figure out how I'm going to set that in. I don't even know that I'm going to need the flap up top that I cut. I'm just not familiar with exterior doors, so I may wind up zip taping that and wrapping it back in. That'll be just a few-minute job. But looks a little different. I like it. Looks like we are set up and ready for a change. So yeah, everything inside of me wants to go ahead and slap some windows in these things so bad because it's going to look good. We just had a cold front come through. It's going to be cold or cool for a while now, so I'm not worried about high humidity and 90-degree days and letting the house breathe. So like, I really want to go ahead and start sticking doors and windows in, but I know better. We've got spray foam people coming. There is no point in putting windows in when there's scaffolding getting slung around in there. Spray foam gets sprayed everywhere when I can just wait a couple more days and make sure I don't crack or bust a window and get these guys out of the way. Then I'll start slapping those in. So that's coming up in just a few days. We'll start popping all these in. We'll get you that spray foam installation video. Oh, I'm excited about that. And some good news. The drywall, I had a drywall company come over yesterday. I like what I heard as far as how picky they are, their expectations. I'm just waiting on a quote now and the time that they can fit me in. So we'll see if we accept that quote. So hopefully here before long, I'm gonna have you some more drywall information, but I finally had somebody come out. I've been trying for weeks just to get a couple different companies to come out, and it just hasn't worked out. I don't know what the heck's going on, but it finally happened. So thank y'all so much for watching. Hopefully enjoyed the episode. A lot more house episodes coming. Catch you on the next one.